Good afternoon to everybody and welcome to the Global Weather Report. It isn't live for a change. I was about to say live, but yeah, I'm just back into the truck once again on the Sunday afternoon. Had a lovely weekend with my dad down in Kirkintilloch. Enjoyed some nice food last night. Went to church this morning and then just chilled out for a little bit this afternoon. So this is a pretty unprepared video today, so it's going to be short and sweet. I'm wanting to hit the road. I want to get back up home once again and whatnot. So this is going to be a little bit of a short-lived video today, but I want to start the global weather report off by looking at the temperatures through the first 9 days of November, and we are running warmer than average pretty much all over Europe, but we do have changes afoot. If we look at the GFS ensemble, this is the upcoming 5-day period, so still warmer than average over the next 5 days, and then into the 6th through 10, we are changing to a colder than average regime, and then the 11 to 15 day, equally, we're running below average. If we look at the weeklies off the CFSV2, I'm curious to see how it's looking. It's not actually picking up in the cold, which is quite interesting. More on this in a lot more detail coming up in the European Outlook tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already done so, please sure to hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out any future uploads. But yeah, interesting over the next 3 weeks, CFSV2 is not picking up on a colder signal for Western Europe, which is quite interesting. So looking globally then at the first 9 days of November, and a very warm Europe, as you can see here, particularly so up across Scandinavia. We do have this mix and match. Very warm North America, incidentally, as well. So both sides of the Atlantic has been firmly warmer than average away from, say, the far northeast corner of the United States. Let's zoom in, actually, at North America. And you can see here, much of New York State and New England is actually below average, if you notice. In the southern portions of Quebec and the southeast corner of Ontario as well, a little bit over central Saskatchewan, you can see here slightly below average, but down across the southeast, close to average. A couple of folks that go to my dad's church from Huntsville, Alabama, so been a relatively fresh-ish start to the month of November down in Alabama. We've got a bitterly cold air mass coming down, by the way, this upcoming week. It could challenge early to mid-November records, I think, in terms of cold. And we'll just go quickly over to the North American side of the Atlantic and see what the temperature anomalies are looking. Let's look at North America specifically. And you can see here, even the CFSV2 picking up on a rather cold upcoming 7 days. Very warm across Greenland, incidentally, as the block of high pressure builds over this part of the world. There has been some anomalous mild temperatures in Nuuk and the capital of Greenland, for example. But when you've got this high pressure over the western and northwestern side of the continent and cold in the east, you're obviously running above average temperature-wise here. This is, like I say, off the CFSV2. Into the following 7 days, we replace that cold with warmth, so it's not going to hold for any particular length of time. And like I've already said at the end of last week, that the cold will start off in North America and likely then move into the European side of the Atlantic. Looking at the GFS ensemble then for the upcoming 5 days, and you can see here the anomalous colder than average, the 6th through 10. Again, albeit we're holding on to the chill up in New England, for example, but a very quick rebound in temperatures across the North American continent here over the next week to 10 days or so. You actually replace the warmth with cool California, Nevada, Arizona, up into the Pacific Northwest and Northern Rockies also. So, we've got some interesting weather to come here in this part of the world over the next week or so. It'll be interesting to see just how chilly our air mass is in terms of snow. Let's have a quick look then, and we'll look at the GFS. So look at that there. Some pretty impressive anomalous cold actually showing up here. But let's have a look at the precip total snowfall So play through here. The model is still updating, unfortunately. You can see here down into the southern Appalachians, we're actually picking up on some decent snow amounts here. Let's zoom in on the US lower 48 and look and see what it's showing here. So this is out to Wednesday of this week at 06Z. You can see here a decent little coverage of snow here away from the immediate east coast, of course. And remember that the ground's not frozen yet, so snow melt will be pretty quick, especially along the I-95 and along the coastline itself, where you've got obviously still relatively warm waters lapping up against the east coast of the United States. So we're not going to be cold enough to see snow probably into the big cities, for example, but the inland, for sure, we are likely to see some snow this upcoming week, and I'll probably look into that in a little bit more detail coming up as well in the European outlooks. In terms of Europe then, how's it looking in terms of snow? And up until Wednesday at least anyway, it's not picking up on any snow, which I wouldn't expect. It would probably be towards next weekend and perhaps into the early portions of the following week. We may see some snow. We'll go back to the 6Z run this morning and play through this loop just out of interest to see if it's picking up much. I've not actually looked at this. Yeah, it's actually showing up a decent little amount of snow across the northern half of the UK. So yeah, watch this space. The S word is going to be getting mentioned, I think, here on the channel. But again, not hyping things up. We're going to be looking at things in a fair, balanced way here. That is something that I'm really pushing on this winter, is keeping things fairly balanced, because obviously you do get a lot of hysteria in social media and the media in general. Cold start to the month across much of Australia, if you notice, away from eastern New South Wales, Queensland and the far north of the country. Reasonable amounts of cooler than average across Central Africa, up into that northwestern portion, the sub-Saharan and Saharan Africa. Still running somewhat cooler than average across western, northwestern India, Pakistan, up into Afghanistan, the stands of west central Asia. It's actually been quite a cool start to the month of November. Running below average across far eastern Russia, if you notice here, and then largely warmer than average with a little pocket of below average across western Russia. Much of North America, as explained, is running above average. Looking at the South America, much of Argentina has actually been below average. Far south Brazil, Rio Grande do Sul region of Brazil, actually slightly below average. Much of the rest of the nation is warmer than average, including Venezuela and Colombia, warmer than average. Parts of Peru running below average. Not really a surprise when you've got a La Nina next door at this minute in time. So that is that. Let's have a look at the extreme temperatures around the world in terms of what kind of temperatures we've been talking about. Cabo Verde running some pretty significant heat. We've been mid-30s even in parts of the Canary Islands over the past week or so here. We've been seeing a lot of warmth getting lifted north. Record warm bonfire night for the UK, for example. But along that Senegalese coast, and Cabo Verde, a bubble of marine heat wave and the constant record heat. This month, the capital, Pereira, I think it is, broke a November record for high and minimum. So 35 plus 35.2 during the daytime, dropping only to 26.2 at night. So very, very warm for an island that's surrounded by water. Tends to be moderated by the influence of the Atlantic, but they, certainly you wouldn't know that you had a surrounding body of water that tends to temper the heat. Certainly not the case in recent times here. Down in the South Africa, we're starting to see the heat building. It's been quite ongoing heat actually down even during the back half of the winter and into the spring season. There's been some pretty persistent heat across parts of South Africa. Extraordinary heat continues in Indonesia. Feels as if this is just a daily thing. We're seeing minimum temperatures records being broken in terms of heat. So minimums of only 28 Celsius in parts of Indonesia. Looking at the other aspects in real quick. Black Sea, November summer day. Minimum temperatures on the Turkish Black Sea coast. 22 Celsius, rising to even in Georgia and parts of southern Russia, 28 Celsius, remarkable for the time of the year, of course. And then into parts of China as well, where we did actually see some pretty significant cold, as a wave of cold came out of Russia across China that is now getting replaced by some pretty hot temperatures. So just quickly looking through, temperatures as high in Texas as 99 or 37.2 Celsius. Northern Mexico as high as 38, which is 100. In Monclova, second hottest November day in history, just below 2024. Singapore's been seeing some record heat in recent times. Changi Airport, the main airport in Singapore, recording 34.6 Celsius. Again, minimum temperatures struggling to get much below the 30 Celsius mark in recent times, and record-breaking warmth, as we know, has been flooding across Europe then. Let's finish off then by looking at some of the events taking place across Europe. We'll quickly look at the Weather Monitor on Twitter. Be sure to check out last night's Tropical Outlook. I've essentially declared the 2025 season over with in the Atlantic, but the double whammy for the Philippines, some very significant damage from yet another typhoon after what has been a brutal time. This is actually in the Philippines. This is Fung-wong that has made landfall. Strong gust. Check this out. Look at this. Look at the bridge. That's crazy. Imagine trying to walk across that. That's the strong winds associated with Fung-wong that has made landfall in the Philippines. I think this is hit number 21 in terms of typhoons on the nation of the Philippines. So absolutely brutal in terms of flooding. You've seen the catastrophic damage that has been caused, yet more flooding. Crazy stuff, isn't it? See if there's anything else I can show, and then we'll just round things up there. Another video here. Massive waves crashing ashore. So you've got the flooding, probably flooding due to surge as opposed to rainfall, but it might be a mixture of both fresh water as well as seawater coming in. So quite a lot of footage of that latest landfall of a powerful typhoon into the Philippines. Like I say, hit number 21 of this year alone. I think they average about 20 hits a year. Just trying to see if there's any other footage out with that, and I'm not really seeing it. So I'm going to round up there. The Global Weather Report Live will be back again next Saturday evening. So I'll put out a reminder during the course of the week for that. But stay tuned. Interesting times coming up here for Western Europe as cold eventually starts to move back in. We could see a surge of record warmth ahead of that coming cold. So plenty of reason to stick around here. So like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you tomorrow with the European Outlook.